All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Jad Erickson. We're stepping aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune. It's the 23rd day of August in 2018. 2018, numerologically, of course, is an 11. That's a master number, so we don't reduce that. At least I don't. Some people do. But it's a master number for illumination. So we have a year, you could say, of a bunch of things coming out, lots of illumination, which is a good thing. We can't be afraid of finding out things that perhaps, upset us or perhaps give us pause or even upend everything that we believe. So I think that we're going to find over the next few months toward the end of this year, we're going to start to see that. We're going to start to see things come out, and we're just going to have to be prepared for that. And if they're disappointing, if it's disappointing news, if it, for some people, it may even shake them to their very core in terms of their belief systems. It's hard when you put your support behind someone that you find out later isn't who you thought they were. So we're experiencing that. You've got some people now saying, well, it's one side versus the other, and the others are saying, no, it's really you guys. And so it's an interesting time to watch and to observe. And I would recommend, when at all possible, to just simply observe and don't react. There's a lot of nonsense on social media going on, and people are just simply at each other's throats right now. And so going forward, we have to think about maybe just pulling back and seeing things from a more dispassionate view. Things are going to unfold the way they do. And it's sometimes we can affect how that happens, and sometimes we can't. And so I think that we're just, we're in this time of ascension. And when we talk about ascension, you can talk about it in a variety of different ways, I suppose. But at the end of the day, what it is an awakening and a remembrance of who we are as source presence, as source energy. We talk about unity and oneness of humanity, and that we're all one and all that. Well, we are. We are. The Creator is all that is, at least in my view. That's all there is. And so if that is all there is, everything that is around us and is us is the Creator. So if that's what's going on here, then at some point we have to wake up to that. And it just seems like people are having this spiritual awakening, and a lot of it is stemming from what they're witnessing. But you see, that's the thing. Sometimes when you're in the fray, you forget to witness, you forget to observe. And perhaps right now in 2018, what a lot of us ought to be doing is stand in witness to what we're seeing unfold. And then see how let it resonate within us, and see if that's really what we want to see happening around us, if that's really what we want our experience to be. So we have just a few months left of this year, and there'll be a chance to make your voices heard in November, which you'll probably want to do that, I hope, anyway. There's been great change in our country, hasn't there? Just in a very short period of time. Time's going to tell whether or not all this chaos actually gives way to something better. But it's going to take an awareness, I think, of what we want and what we don't want. And once we decide that, then, does it feel better to see everyone as the other and someone to fear? Or does it feel better to come together in unity and understand that in the greater unified presence of all, we can accomplish anything, can't we? So let's count 13 and see what the cards have to say. we have, one more thing. I forgot to do the other part of the numerology for today. We have 8 and 23. So 8 and 5 is 13. 23 reduces to 5. You add them together. So that's 13. We could do that as a master witch number, which I like to do. Or we could do 4, which is structure. It could reduce to 4. So it's the structure of enlightenment, structure of illumination. What is that going to look like here today? How will we structure all of that? But let's count 13 and see what we have. Well, we have the 6 of Swords. And typically, a lot of decks show it this way. You've got, well, what looks like the father, you got, and the mother and the child in the boat with, they're traveling across water. And you've got swords. Basically, they're going on a journey to new experiences. You don't know if this is a sad thing or if it's something that because they seem huddled, don't they? So maybe the new experiences are not, they're unsure, but they're going, and they're making steady progress, aren't they? The mother and the child are sort of leaning forward. You could say they're leaning into the wind, so they're leaning into challenges. Swords is our intellectual presence in the world. So it's about communication and intuition and reason and all of that. So clearly, they may be having thoughts that are not really, they're not sure of what the future holds, but they're going anyway. We can let everything that we experience sort of direct us. Or we can not allow that to happen, and we can let our inner voice direct us. Typically, the other thing that when I look at this card, the other thing I see is about allowing thoughts to coalesce into something. You could think of it in terms of planning for the future or planning for the journey that we're going to take. It doesn't portend, even though that they're a bit huddled, and even though you're looking at possibly, a winter scene in the background, it's always the promise of spring that's coming, isn't it? Anytime you see winter, you can see stasis, you can see where nothing's really moving, but that's not the case because these folks are moving, aren't they? And they're moving towards something better. So the 6 of Swords is always a positive card, really. It's about, it's also about maybe hidden guidance. But the swords themselves, they're not really in balance. You've got 2 on one side and 4 on the other. But maybe that's intentional because maybe the 4 are to shield the mother and the child from the elements. So this is a card that's purposeful. And that's what I like about swords. A lot of it's purposeful. Not all of it is, sometimes it's purposeful from the outside, like the 3 of Swords. That's typically thought of, jealousy or betrayal. Because typically you've got 3 swords piercing a heart in the picture. So that's not, so swords is an interesting suit. But yeah, this is about directed intelligence. How are we going to direct our reason and our planning and whatever it is that we need to invoke or communicate? But the most important thing is that we're continuing on, aren't we? And the other thing that it could mean is that we're also moving into higher self-awareness. You know, in a sense, we balance reason with emotion here in form. But it doesn't mean that it's all one or the other, you know, that one should take priority over the other, although sometimes we do. But let's take another look at the cards. I want to pull another card here because I'm feeling like there's more to this story. You know, why are they because what we don't know about this is why are they taking the journey? What precipitated the journey to something better? Or what is the better that they're going to? Well, here we have the King of Swords. So we're staying with the sword suit, you know, so it's still reason. But the king now, the king is going to be somebody again of authority. And, but basically, what we have is we have a king on a throne. All right. He's holding up a sword in one hand. We see birds over there. We see some clouds. We see a nice butterfly at the top of his, is that a butterfly or is that a ram? It looks like a butterfly from here. But you've got moons on either side and it almost looks like a ram's head. But it's not. It's a butterfly. I don't want to get it so it's not so glary. But apparently, you know, what we're talking about with swords, you're talking about being analytical sometimes, and so and calculated. And it may be that whatever happened here, this was a decision that was made that was calculated. And so obviously they're going to maybe a new life, a new job, um, but basically they're going to something better. And the decision was made from a position of strength. So it could just be that they decided that there was a new opportunity somewhere else. So perhaps if a new opportunity comes into your life today, you're going to want to think about it a little bit because it could be something that's really good for you, you know, and consider that, you know, it may be something that's going to be that could bring more money into your life or just a better standard of living. You might get news of if you're looking for employment, you might discover that there's a job somewhere else in another city that you might be interested in taking. But the idea is that, you know, in this case, is that you're doing something that's for the greater good of more than just yourself. We've been talking a lot about that lately, you know, about service to self and service to others and where are you coming from? You know, both, you know, law one tells us that both choices are valid, but service to self is to me just lonelier. And so here you see this family making a decision, you know, that's pretty much upending their lives, but they're doing it because it makes sense and it's reasonable to expect that this is going to be a positive, you know, experience in their lives. So don't be afraid of change, I guess. It's kind of the structure really of everything. That's the one thing we can depend on. My husband says, you can always depend it's going to change. Things are going to change. It's like, yeah, husbands are fun, aren't they? Well, we have Perthrow. If I can get it up here, right? And Perthrow is about luck and about the unknown. It's the 14th rune of the Elder Futhark. So numerologically, it's change. Get these cards back over here. Thinking about change. We'll set them here. But basically, what this is it represents the a cup from which dice are tossed, or the cup from which runes are tossed or cast. It represents the well of word if you turn it up this way. And the well of word is it's the well beneath the world tree that Odin hung upside down from, and the well of word is what the Norns stand around to divine men's fate. It can mean open to the right. It can mean birth. That's if you use directionality in runes, which I don't. This way it can mean death. Curved upward can be in the womb, not just the cup or the well, but the womb. But you're basically, if you're looking at the 6 here of swords, they're really basically going off, even though it was a recent decision, they're basically going off into the unknown, and they're giving birth to something new. And we've been having some really interesting synchronicities with the runes and the cards lately. They seem to really connect to one another, which I just find that cool. But Perthro, I like the idea of the unknown. I like the idea of the unfolding of experience. We're not alone here. There's all other manner of life that's having its own experience, and collectively it comes together in this unified experience of consciousness. But at the same time, we're still going to have our own individual experiences. And the fun part about Perthro is we never really know what's going to happen. I mean, we might, click into some probabilities, and that's fine. But it's like the joy of walking out into the garden and seeing how it all grew the night before, and to see what it's going to look like today, to see the new flowers that are coming out. You just don't know, and so there's all this beauty of the unknown. So we can't really fear it. When Perthro appears, it could also mean the birth of a child or a pregnancy. So you're talking about all the unknown that we're dealing with too, though. And I guess that's the hardest part for people. And I think that dealing with the unknown, it tends to create stress within. And that's why I say that if we can stay in observation mode more than in reactive mode, we might fare a little bit better through all of this. What we do know, though, about this year is that we're going to learn some things, and we're going to be illumined. Our way will be illumined. We will know a whole lot more than we do now. It's easy to dismiss things that are real, and into things that are not. But what we have to guard against is trying to fit what we see to our own narrative. Because when we do that, we've already decided what the outcome is. And what Perthro is asking us to do is to just wait and see how things unfold before passing judgment and trying to see how all this fits with what we believe. Because in a real sense, that's what we've got going right now, is a battle of beliefs. And they seem to be so polarized that it's difficult to find a way back together. And I just don't know, of course, how it's all going to shake out, other than the fact that we will all awaken. We will all understand at some point how all of this fits into the broader scheme of things. If we've allowed our own isms in life, our own challenges with others, to inform the decisions that we make in a negative way, we're going to have to come to terms with that, because doing so keeps everybody from moving forward. So the other thing that about Perthro is that when you're dealing with the unknown, You're basically dealing with the potential for, you're dealing with the potential for heartache and confusion. We all have expectations. And what I'm seeing now is a lot of people with such strong expectations that when faced with facts, they have a difficult time with that. And the journey that we take forward, going forward, we take together. It really is the only way that we can survive all of this. I mean, it's easy to understand when there's a cataclysm of some kind. Communities come together, after a hurricane or after floods or what have you. You get some natural disaster and folks come together. It's just that we have a difficult time maintaining that, I guess, after the fact. But you see the strength of unity when those things happen. I remember there was a news report one time during Katrina, and they were down in the I don't remember which news anchor it was, but they were down in the Ninth Ward, and there was this woman who was sitting on her porch talking to the reporter, and the folks in that little area, they were using her house to do the cooking, and this one guy shows up and he's got this big pot of stew that someone else had put together. Well, actually, a group of someone else's, lots of people, put the stew together, and he brought it over to her house. And it was cool because she's just saying, yeah, we're taking care of everything. Everybody's going to be okay. It's a mess, but we're coming together, and we're just using my house to cook in because I don't have any damage up here. So, and it was just neighbors helping neighbors, and it was just you knew in that moment, and it was going to take a while, but they would be okay. Maybe not the way they were, but maybe through that experience of being together like that, maybe even better. So with all of the calamity, it's easy to see how we can do that. But when it's our thought patterns, it's a little harder, isn't it? But what the Six of Swords really tells us is that the journey we take, we've got to get our ducks in a row. We have to have a purpose in mind, a single purpose, a single unified purpose, even if it's just to get along through the day, to see what we can accomplish together. If there are issues, if there are problems that don't serve the rest of the world or the rest of the country or an area, let's talk about it. Let's get a plan together. Figure out a way past all of it. Figure out a way to elevate instead of destroy, like we're seeing now. There's the thought process that says, well, if we just tear it all apart, we can start all over again. Sometimes that's all you can do. But when you have the choice to do it in a way that's a little more savvy, you can eliminate much of the destruction. You can make the changes that you need to make without blowing everything up and destroying everyone's trust between one another. You can do that. We have that ability to do anything we want to do, no matter what the challenge. So for today and, maybe for the rest of the year, let's think about how all of this is enlightening us and what will we do with that information? Will we see the value of approaching the unknown together? There's a lot of awful things that are coming out right now, and they need to. But that can happen without destroying the rest of us. We're capable of seeing the truth, no matter how unpleasant. And we're capable of figuring out a way through it. But we aren't going to do that if we're at each other's throats. And if we're not willing to set aside beliefs that are just not even based in fact. So let's keep our eyes focused on illumination and awakening. Ascension is not about being raptured off the planet. Ascension is simply about realizing who you really are and letting that reality inform your day. Collectively, if everyone did that, it would be a whole different world, wouldn't it? So I guess that's it for today. I don't know. You know, I feel so strongly about making these changes that need to be made in the world, alleviating the imbalances in the world. I think we have to do that in a way that doesn't destroy the world in the process. I'm not so concerned about the really rich folks out there. They'll be fine. I'm not concerned about the religions out there that are causing so much grief in the world. They'll be fine too. And if they're not, oh well. But the point is that we all need to be fine together as this process unfolds. So let's find a way to do that. We're going to be a whole lot stronger for it when all is said and done. Have a lovely weekend. I'm going to take tomorrow off. In fact, I may just not do these on Fridays anymore. My husband and I are in the process of harvesting all of the garden stuff, so we kind of need some time to just have a day together. And Friday we don't have irrigation, so it's nice to just sort of have a Friday where we can run around and, you know, go shopping and do the things we need to do, or just spend some time together. So I think I'm just going to do this Monday through Thursday from now on. So in any event, have a good weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Thanks so much for stopping by. These are fun to do, and I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. So have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Blessed be.